Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so I took a shower, smoked a little bit of what I had left. Feel a lot better. Kind of was going into some negative spaces in my shower, so figured smoking would probably be something that wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't think I've hit any weed in like 2 or 3 days, so it probably hits me a little more right now than it normally would. It's probably a good thing, but yeah, man, I'm getting on here because I was just obviously in that not so positive space and said a little bit of a prayer to try to get my mind right. Came to a lot of conclusions while I was in that negative space. And I guess the first thing I need to say is I'm not ashamed of my situation. I don't equate being poor with my esteem. I don't equate being poor with my self-worth or whether or not I enjoy my life. I would love to have a lot of money. I'd ask the Lord to put me in a position to be unselfish if I were to receive it. But it's not something that I think is really a thing to be ashamed of. There are things to be ashamed of, and I'm aware of those things. I'm deeply aware of those things, and that's why I'm not ashamed of not having money. You should be ashamed of some of the things that people do in the dark. Nobody's looking. Stuff that they don't want nobody else to know, that they know they shouldn't do, that harms others, that will betray innocence and betray good intentions and compassion. Those are things to be ashamed of. But not being in a position of finance when half the world is poor? No. Not when you know where money is. You know what's being done with money, like I do, because I pay attention to what's going on in AMC and that whole situation, as I have been, knowing what the stock market situation is, the hedgies, so to speak. Why would I be ashamed of being poor when the world's economy is being siphoned from? When you zoom all the way out, our ambition, our little bit of money, what we're trying to go after, whether you're able to or not, whether you're able to rise up to the top or what have you, at the end of the day, there is a place where money is being duplicated over and over and over and over again, and they control where that money goes. So why should I be ashamed of not having money when that is the case? See, that's what comes to mind for me. When I turned on the camera, I thought I would take it somewhere else because the Lord was basically getting it in my mind, telling me, like he always does, suggesting things as I go through this crisis, to get on here and tell these people you're not ashamed of not having money. Get on here and tell them that you're not ashamed of your situation. I'm ashamed of not getting help for my mental health. I'm ashamed of neglecting people in the past when I did, not respecting their desperation when they needed a place to stay or when they needed something from me and I didn't want to get it, or when they called me and I never found out what mood they were in or whether or not they were okay because I didn't want to answer the phone because I wanted to play video games or whatever. I'm ashamed of that. That was trash. But not ashamed to the point where I'm not going to tell you it was trash, because if you have that trait, I want you to do better too. So if I keep it from you, did me no good, nor you. So I gotta stand on that shame, that's real shame. Stealing from people, I ain't really like that. I don't steal. It's not really in my soul. I did some mischievous crap, like take some red vines out of the cupboard when my mama told me not to. Little mischievous stuff. I remember one time I did steal. Actually, I stole a Red Bull from some random place. I was with others, so I'm not gonna get too far into it. But point is, I stole a Red Bull and shouldn't have. And so it's one of them situations where it's like, I'm kind of ashamed of that, I guess. I mean, little mischievous stuff. I'm not really like that. I'm not wired to steal or be that kind of person per se. But desperation can make a person do anything outside of your character. You don't know what you would do when it gets too bad, and the closer it gets to being bad, I respect that desperation even more. Knowing how important it is to protect yourself from that desperation, which is why I come to respect people who are gun owners and the gun guys, even though I know that sometimes we allow the worst of them to psych us out of where the line is as it pertains to these weapons. I think that's something to be ashamed of. Every time we see a mass shooting and we haven't done anything about making sure that we do something about how that takes place and what allows that to take place, however that goes, much smarter than me, but we need to figure it out. I'm ashamed of that. But not having money, no. Because if I had a lot of money, the first thing I want to do is help those who don't have it get as much of it as they can, so that they never even have to think for 1 second that it was ever money that was really keeping them from feeling good about themselves, but more so just being their best selves, helping them find what it is that'll make them money. If you're good at something and it can make you money, then that's you should be ashamed of not trying to make yourself better at whatever you're good at, rather than just not having money. I mean, money can come and go. A lot of things can cause a drop financially. They don't even have to be within your control. Somebody can try to, we've had people steal people's identity and wipe them clean. That kind of thing. You get caught up with the wrong woman, get framed. Now you ain't got no money because you got to pay all your money for lawyer fees. I think what makes you money should be something that doesn't bring you shame. And I think a lot of us don't care about that kind of thing, which I think is shameful, to be honest with you. But I'm not ashamed of my situation, because what I was trying to do was take the money that I had, put it somewhere so that we could attack that place I was telling you about, where they just keep on duplicating money over and over and over again, naked shorting, taking these shares and driving them to the ground while people's hard-earned money is in there. That's shameful. But as far as just not having money at a given time, no, that's too many people poor. I mean, that's more common than anything else. That's why they call the highest and the richest people in the world 1%ers, because they're the 1% of the rest of us. 99% of the world is less than that, to say the least, because they got all the money. Kind of shameful, to be honest with you. But it is what it is, man. I am not ashamed of being in this situation, because I know I had a mental health concern that kind of coerced me into not wanting to go after things that would otherwise make it so that I would be better. That's shameful, not getting help, as I already said. But, at the end of the day, I just know that not having money is not something that you should be ashamed of. You should just be trying to go get it. And not doing shameful things to get it, like harming others or robbing people, but really going after the education, going after what makes you better. We're learning the repetition of what it is that'll ultimately earn you the money, as I was trying to say earlier. Getting as educated as possible. That's what I tried to run from. I'm not ashamed of that, because it was my anxiety, as I told you guys, that ultimately kept me from wanting to get an education. And at the time, there was no, online schools and stuff like that as a child. We didn't have nothing like that. I'm 38, so you either showed up to that place and dealt whatever came with it, or you didn't have no education. Now, you could get homeschooled, but that was something that was basically shunned. So it was like, during those times, there was just no way for me to get an education unless I faced my anxieties. So I'm not going to be ashamed of the fact that I never grew to be in a position to know how to make money necessarily, or grow into the habits. I can't necessarily be ashamed of that. Just wasn't born with money either, so that helped. I mean, that would definitely hurt the cause, I guess you could say. But, at the end of the day, I think a lot of times people think you're ashamed of your situation. They may say, oh, because he doesn't have money, maybe we shouldn't, kind of tell people he's not doing well. Because I think that's how other people look at it. It's like, I don't have money. It's like, damn, I'd never be broke. But it's like, that has nothing to do with my character. Am I brave enough to do the things I need to do when the time comes? You know what I mean? And that could be equated to having money and owning things and being able to help others. So don't get it twisted. That is something to be proud of. But to be down and out and just not be in a position, or to have never had and now trying to get but don't quite know how, I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed of. But the person who harbors that needs to find a way to get themselves up. It ain't about shame. It's just about starting that process of learning what you need to learn, practicing what you're good at, and finding a way to monetize it, owning what you need to own, and looking for ownership if possible. Taking the work that you're putting in and the hours that you're willing to put in and turning the money into something that will make you proud. And then from there, just by sheer default, you won't be down and out. Now, granted, you could have setbacks, but if you have the rhythm of keeping going and churning, and a lot of it has to do with energy. So we want to start early and get those habits going so that you can have more energy by the time you get older. Eating habits have to be good because a lot of times that will affect a lot of things, especially if you're at a disadvantaged point and you are poor. You need to be healthy so that you can give yourself the energy necessary to keep yourself going. These are things I think about because I have to engage in them going forward to get myself going and put myself in a position to be proud. I'm not ashamed. I think it's one of those situations where I just understand that I have to start the process of continuing to keep going. And for me, it's knowing that I already have works. That's the part I need to psych myself into understanding. The work's done. It's just how to now turn my attention to putting the work toward what will make money. And how to want to. How to literally want to. See, for me, the works I've done are obviously art. And with art, I perceive it a certain way. Art gets exploited. Art gets judged. Art gets put a price tag on. What's the difference between that $8 billion piece of Mona Lisa and those, art pieces maybe that I've done? I don't know, somebody's opinion. Various different things that have been handmade, woven. Is it the time spent put into it? Is it how well it's done? Obviously, but art is subjective, so sometimes art can't even be judged by how well it's done. You seen a Picasso before? I mean, certain things, it's not about how well it is, it's about the expression. For me, an example, like with art, sometimes I might want to put one little swiggly line on the paper and just leave it alone. Now, granted, somebody else may be able to do an entire art piece, with like rose petals and make my face. That's obviously more advanced art, but is it better? I mean, it's more about how you receive it, right? And so if you think of art that way, then it's like, well, how do I put a price tag on my own art? Why would I even want to? You know what I'm saying? So somebody can actually tell me that my art is worth more than the next person's art because they either spent more time on it or because it looks better. It's art. It's not even supposed to be received that way. It's an expression. I didn't do it because I wanted it to be judged. I did it because I was feeling something and needed to get it out. And so I'm supposed to be monetizing that? How do I monetize my pain? I've watched many people do it through music and stuff like that, so I guess it works for them. I don't know. I mean, but do I want you judging that? That's what I've been going through. It's been that kind of thing with the same issue with YouTube. I tell you, same issue with YouTube. People, I never really wanted to have to watch my mouth, to be honest with you. I never wanted to have to tell people, I'm sorry because I said something that maybe you just didn't want to hear. I mean, honestly, if it's in my character to do that, which it happens to be, lucky me, so it blows back properly on my character anyway. But just the point is, just from in general, how I truly feel, even if I was the rawest, most nasty talking person in the world, I feel the exact same way. I don't want nobody putting a muzzle on my mouth. I don't. For any reason. Because a lot of times I feel like I have to say things that are going to anger the world. Honestly. And it ain't because I'm trying to anger the world. It's just because this is a godless place. And I believe in God. So a lot of times when I see certain things, like people manipulating one another's by way of social media, acting like they are part of a certain type of hate group or something like that, or pretend to be something they're not in regards to their identity, while they pretend to hate people so that we can perceive the world being as it isn't, just an overall hateful place. It's a godless place, but it's not a hateful place like they want to paint the place out to be, by way of how they post and their little things that they do. As we've talked about many times in these therapy sessions, if you follow me. I don't want to not be able to say those things. I don't want to not be able to have those conversations. So for me, I never wanted to be too big on YouTube, because once you get that big, that's when they start paying attention to you more so. They know you're reaching more people with what you have to say, and thus they want to muzzle you. I've seen it not only on this platform, but many others. And so I never really wanted to put hashtags on my channel or try to grow my channel too much because of a couple of reasons, but that was one of them. I just didn't want to see myself get muzzled. I really didn't. I always wanted the right to attack the people behind the curtain with every single thing that I see, with this mind of mine. And because I have a mind like this, I could never be ashamed of something as feeble as not having money. That's the God's honest truth, because I'm cocky about my brain. It's because I know I'm cocky about my God and how he's able to speak to me for you. So it's like, if he's giving me all of this, why would I be ashamed of something as simple as money? You know how easy I can make money if I actually did all these things properly? That's what I tell myself. I don't know if it's true, because I've never done it. But that's the cockiness inside of myself. That's that confidence. That's kind of shameful, honestly, because it doesn't inspire anything in anyone else. But that nobody like that energy. This dude think he all that. But the reality is, I was trying to psych myself into believing that I'm just somebody who shouldn't be ashamed. Yeah, I'm cocky and I'm ashamed of it. Yeah, I don't have money. Not ashamed of that, but I haven't been able to monetize what it is that I do, and I'm ashamed of that. You see what I'm saying? Do I think I'm the greatest thing? I do. Because the Lord is a great God, and he made me what he wanted me to be. It's good enough. All this time I done looked at myself and said, oh no, they look at him, got the man tits, oh look, he's fat. Looking at myself sitting in the same position like this and just seeing my body sloppy and not knowing there was nothing wrong with me. Not really. Because it was on the inside of me was capable of turning myself into whatever I wanted to be. Physically. I didn't know that. But now that I'm here, it's like, this is the same me. It's just I'm doing push-ups now. I'm doing squats now. I'm eating better now. Ain't no different. You know what I'm saying? I've grown older, but it's the same person, bro. And so I was so down on myself, so ashamed of myself for how I looked, that I never let people see who I was. I never wanted to share all of the things that I thought I was really good at, cocky about even. Talented, I felt I am. Felt I was, still am, whatever. Get the point. The point was it was something that took away so much time, man. So much of my confidence. So much of my ability to just interact with people. And because I didn't have people around me, like most of y'all do, to influence you into a culture that would make it so that you don't ever even be like this, I was alone, so I became like this. Off the spectrum, I guess, as they call it. Completely off of that thing. And I didn't care, man. I didn't care. Because I was comfortable in my own isolation. I could talk to myself. I could walk around and play video games for 7 hours a day. Write poetry if I felt like it. Listen to music and study. It's all types of different things that I wanted to do. I didn't have to follow no structure of the world, because the world was on a different spectrum. And I was on a different one myself. All I needed was to get past my mom in the morning. Let me stay home. I didn't care what you wanted for me or what you thought was coming down the pipeline. If I didn't have my education, I just needed to stay away from all of those anxiety and all of those circumstances that would make me have to be anything other than what I wanted to be at home by myself. Away from all of the dangers, away from all the judgment, away from all the whatever people are getting into, laughter, weird stuff, girls that may like you, may not like you, I don't know. Obviously the horrors of monsters that I was aware of since I was 2. Monsters out there, man. That's why I still tell you I have respect for the people with the gun, because I know they got monsters in this world, man. Seen them. Learned of a monster early. Was not protected in her presence. That messed me up. I wish somebody had a gun. Saved my life. Well, I lived through it, but you get the point. But it just comes down to, are we getting too far with the guns? I'm never going to get too far away from that conversation. It's like, yeah, I respect some of responsible people with good energy and well trained should have guns, but not everybody should have them or access to them. Anyway, whatever. Point is, I ran into a monster, and I survived it. Many don't, man. That's something to be ashamed of as well. Kids out here not being found, still missing. Can we please get better at detecting people? How about we find a way to detect bones? I was thinking about that at random during a prayer. It's like, can we get somewhere to where we have technology, some type of technology that detects bones? If you can do that, you'll never lose a person again. No matter how far down in the ocean they go, no matter how far into space they go, something that connects to our bones. You will find people if you do that. No matter what goes away, the bones will still be in some type of form. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. To everybody, as I continue to enjoy my high, not ashamed of that. But I do think that if you find yourself addicted to anything, it's not something to be ashamed of, but it is something to get help for. Just like being, down and out should be something you work your way out of. Nothing to be ashamed of, but it is something to work on. So help yourself to any help that you can get in regards to the addictions. For sure, it's worth it for yourself and the people that love you. But anyway, back to what I was saying, the monster, guns, all these other things. The point is, I'm trying to express to you guys what led to me being this way, reliving some of those old feelings that I had when I was speaking to my mother about never wanting to go out there and having to face the people with the guns and the monsters and the drugs. I just wanted to stay in the house. And I was addicted to that truth because I knew that I could survive doing that. It may not have been all that fun at times, not having people around, but I knew that I was safe from some of the evils that are out there. I could avoid the gangs, I could avoid the drugs, I could avoid having to hold myself accountable for not wanting to do certain things, I could avoid my anxieties, I could avoid all things if I stayed my black ass in the house. So I did so. While other people should have been in the house, I actually was in that thing. And people make fun of you for staying in the house, but a lot of people didn't survive out there. And I was wondering if I was going to be one of the ones that took people's lives. That's what I was wondering. I was worried I was a monster. Not that I would be killed. That's the sad part. That little shy kid, he didn't know who he was. That little kid that was insecure, he didn't know he wasn't a monster. He didn't know because he had seen a monster earlier in his life. And he knew that he needed to stay away from those. See, they convert you into them. When you deal with a monster like I dealt with one, they turn you into one. That's what it usually does to people. So I stayed my ass in the house. And so as I grow older and I continue to revamp this same energy over and over again, staying in the house every 3 years, go out, try to figure it out, but then just retreat back into that space where I stay in the house, I realize I'm always running from the same thing. Me. My own anxieties, my own insecurities, not knowing who I am at a given moment, the being held accountable for not doing more until I learned to do more. It took a long time to put the controller down and pick the colors up, pick up this phone. Luckily enough, technology came to pass and I was able to have something like Apple and YouTube to make myself productive for the first time in my real life, man. Productive. That's who I was, not a monster. It didn't convert me into nothing. I had the Holy Spirit. I was going to turn into a creative. You understand what I'm saying? I wasn't no killer. Hell, I ain't no killer. I'm a creative. And so as I grow to know who I am and learn to be more comfortable in my own skin, I realize that I'm 38 years in and I got conditioning of a young kid that had all these different problems and all these different perceptions and didn't know who he was. I just behaved like him, staying in the house, because that's all I know how to do. No discipline. Even though I snap out of it here and there, it was never an end to that. And I hated it because it wasn't good enough because it never allowed me to create. I'm doing security, and that's not a creative job. And because I had no direction or no works, it was like, I'm just doing this for nothing. Just doing it for nothing. And facing the anxieties every day for nothing. And when you're not in the rhythm of doing that, even in school, when all those years are spent doing whatever you want to do, it's even harder to snap into that. Even when you have to. Like now. I want to go back to work. I was telling myself when I got out of the shower, casket would be more comfortable. A minute too. I know it ain't right. Not happy with that. I'm very much ashamed of that thought. It's a shameful thought. Because there are a lot of people who need jobs, including me, obviously. But that's not the point. I'm trying to tell y'all what I've been dealing with the whole time is my mental health. It ain't right. And maybe that's an excuse. Maybe I've been coddled into being an excuse maker all my life to now I just use mental health as a means of keeping me from doing what I need to do to help myself. And will even cop out by way of death just to keep myself from having to face that. But then I tell myself that in and of itself, to choose that, something wrong there. If you would identify that in someone else, would you not say, oh yeah, no, he's not doing well. He might need some mental help. So it's like, why wouldn't you apply that grace to myself, I say to me. And so I do. I really do, man. I try to tell myself that I'm making an excuse, I guess. I've done that over the years, and I've heard my mother say, you need to just get up and just do what you need to do. All those years when she would tell me that, I fought with that. And it really made me dislike myself to the point where it's like, you can't even make your mother happy. You can't even go to school just to make it so that her life is easier. So I hated myself for that. You know what I'm saying? I really did. It took a long time to be at peace with my mental health, man. It took a long time to realize I was just sick, bro. Because I was always smart enough to see myself doing what it was I was doing and see everybody else reacting to me doing it. So it was like, I know I'm doing that. I know. And then I would just keep doing it as opposed to like changing it, you know what I'm saying? No, I ain't going to change necessarily. I'm just going to feel bad, and that's going to drive me to continue doing it. So I had to stop that. You know what I mean? At some point, you got to say, okay, if you're going to get better, that can't be with the mindset that you're engaging in. That's not, you start to further see yourself not change. So then you try to work in other habits, and eventually you just muster up the courage to just go back out again. I don't know how I do it, but eventually you start wanting something else. You know what I mean? Maybe a girl comes into the picture or some distraction or something that'll make me just do it. You know? That's kind of how I usually went. But overall, I never understood the rhyme or reason of the pattern as it pertains to me going out. Like, for example, I was at Children's Club for like 10 years. Never had no anxiety. I had the anxieties there, but they never made me not want to be there. You know what I mean? Because I think I equated that place to being home. I think that's what it was for me. You know what I mean? It was like some of those people that I had seen there every day, I had seen since I was a small child. Like, immediately left that Connie situation and went straight into spaces they were at. So as I grew older and they continued to be with me, it was almost like, well, that's another comfort zone, like complete comfort zone. So, you know what I mean? Maybe I'd have anxiety when I'd leave those buildings. You see what I'm saying? It's like, okay, maybe they want to go across the street to the assistance league. I feel a little uncomfortable. But as long as I'm still here, we're good. And when it's time for mommy to pick me up and we go home, I'm fine. So I never really experienced this until after I was taken out of there. Once they told me I couldn't go to Children's Club no more and I started getting used to being at home, that's when it kind of started being an understanding where I like being home. I think that's how that went. Although I started having the school issue where I didn't want to go to school, I think some of that started at Children's Club. I don't really remember, the timeline's off. I'm very old. And this stuff happened when I was like 7 and 8 years old. A lot of people don't even remember stuff from back then, but I had such a fantastic time at the Children's Club, and it felt like it lasted so long that those memories are better than me for the most part. But I just don't understand why I never wanted to stay home from there. I don't understand. I don't know why that was. I haven't really given much thought. But after I was told I couldn't be there no more, that's when I started realizing I like being home, and I like being home a little too much. You know what I mean? I think that's when I started realizing it. And it just became a situation where I just never grew out of it. And it was rather ridiculous as I was 22, 23, 24 years old. And as I told you guys, I go out to the club with my friends, but then wouldn't want to do nothing else. Feel comfortable with them, but just wouldn't want to do nothing else. No anxiety with them. We go out together, never no anxiety with them, which is a weird aspect of my personality. But for whatever reason, when I get back home and it's time to do certain things that hold me accountable, all of a sudden the demons start popping up. Oh, I don't want to go. I'd just rather stay home, however it looks. Enjoying staying home, just embedded, staying home. Daytime, nighttime, whatever the weather, didn't matter. Just stay in the house. And be comfortable there, because I'd never be made fun of there, never have to put a towel over my chest or whatever the heck to cover the man boobs, never had to, wonder about if I'm wearing the right clothes, if I didn't have my stuff up to style, because we didn't have money like that, so my mom wasn't buying too many, high class stuff like that with all the names and all that, until I started getting a little older. Then we started getting Nikes and stuff like that. We did, but that came a little later. That came like around 13, 14, when we really started paying more attention to getting me up to speed with the times. But before that, it was like XJ's 900s. We weren't doing that well, and so she didn't care. She would just go to Payless and get whatever shoes, whatever was cheap. You know what I mean? And that would be cool, I guess. But it got to a point where other people were starting to get the kicks. So it's like, all right, I want to wear some Sean Kemp's. I want to see if I can get some some Barclays. You know what I mean? Them were the shoes back then. But man, I just look back on those days and realize that I was always insecure, man. Comfortable on stage, but insecure as a child. I think I've worked some of that out, to be honest with you. I think I've generally worked some of that out. I don't know how much of that still stays in me, as far as I not wanting to walk out the house because of my appearance. I don't think any of that comes into play today. I think I've genuinely healed from all of that. Whatever it was that kept a towel around my neck, I think I've healed from most of that. I think it's turned into something like, I have to do my workout. I think it manifested into something that makes me maintain my workouts, rather than something that makes me ashamed for going out. I just refuse to allow myself to go backwards. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is now. Obsessive about what it is I'm comfortable doing. I think I just wanted people to peer into my head. Obviously the weed had a lot to do with how I behave here, but I'm not ashamed of that at the end of the day, because it was necessary. The Lord told me, more or less, turn on the camera. He even told me to just relax, smoke the weed, honestly. Really did. But I think it was because I was so wound up. I was thinking about, just things that were frustrating me. And as I realized that I was actually frustrated, some of the energy I'd engaged in the past, that's what it came down to. It's like, you're not mad at anyone. You realize that you've done to others what is being done to you. And when I came to terms with that, I changed my entire point of view. My anger, I started pointing inward. I started telling the Lord things like, if you can make it so that I never find myself being what it is that I'm not happy with in others, if this punishment or if this difficulty is going to help me overcome that for which is flawed in my character that I don't like, then throw the book at me. That's what I told God. Leave me with nothing but my draws, if that's what's going to make it so that I'm never like the way that I don't like in others ever again. Take everything from me. I don't care if it's my bed, couch, apartment, all of it, shoes, everything. I will work my way for the absolute gutter if it will put me in a position to never treat people like I did before I did this. Turning people away when they need a place to stay, not answering the phone, stuff like that. I can't tell you how many times I've shamed myself doing that. I'm ashamed of that. Not answering the phone, my brother called. Even though it was anxiety keeping me from doing it, honestly. I'm still ashamed of it because he needed me. He probably did need me. He always does, my brother. And to think that the character in me would make me feel like I didn't need him, that's something to be ashamed of, for real. That's the part that I really am ashamed of. What the hell part of my character is that? How do you live without your brother, Brandon? How do you live without talking to your family? But the anxiety and the comfort of it, the comfort of it all, being treated so poorly by others, make me feel like I don't know how I'm gonna be treated by my own family. People I don't know how they're gonna treat me. Just maybe one of the more laughing people in the crowd, just like everybody else. How do I know? I don't know. I ran into a monster early on. I don't know who anybody is. Connie ruined everything in that regard. The only person I really trusted was my mother. Everybody else could be one of her at any moment. That's why I stayed away from everybody, man. Good energy, bad energy. You had to really earn my trust for me to even think that I wanted to be around anybody. Everybody could have been Connie. Everybody could have been a monster. That's why I didn't answer the phone with my brothers. That's why I'm afraid to reach out to other people that I really love. Because I don't know if they're monsters, man. I think I finally figured that out. Because I have no idea if those people are monsters. Because truth be told, that woman honestly showed me that she could be an angel in one room and a monster in the other. So you never quite know who you see. You never quite know who you know. It's true. That's why I try to preach to the betterment of your energy and being 1 degree of separation from somebody else and loving your family. Because I know love is real. I've seen that. I know people have compassion. I've seen redemption. I know those things. I know angels are real, just like monsters are real. So it's not to say that everyone's a monster. I just don't know who's who. And I think that kept me from answering the phone a lot of the time. I think that's what made me feel so comfortable being alone. I think that's exactly why I was like how I am. So I don't know who is a monster. I don't know who's Connie. I don't know who else gonna do something like that. And I know I'm not like that. I'm a creative, but I'm not a monster. But I ain't weak either. I ain't weak. I found myself surviving things I didn't think I could survive, man. Being better. Treating myself better. Learning how to love myself like I really do love me. Probably to the point where I want to even go back to work now. You at least do a gig. At least go outside. See if something's around the corner to walk around. I'm doing things that help me. Listening to people tell me advice. I'm taking it in, I'm taking in advice. People are telling me to plan. I'm like, all right, I want to learn how to. Somebody told me to walk outside, just take a walk. Now I'm doing that. It's like, yeah, I remember that advice. I'm taking it now. I think it's working too. I feel better. That kind of thing, And I just look back and I say, man, I don't think I wanted to take their advice sooner. I think I was still on what God wanted me to do. I think it was time for me to take the advice now. It wasn't necessarily time for me to get it right back then. It wasn't time for me to do any of those things differently because I needed to be able to have this testimony now. I needed to be able to make this video now. And if I didn't have the entire path of my past, if something was just slightly better, this wouldn't be like this. This wouldn't be the video I'm making. I don't know why I'm flashing back to my friend Damian Rodney. Passed away in 93. Salute to his family. I don't know why. He popped in my head for no reason. I told y'all the story, man. I don't know, man. I just think that when you go through hard times, you just look back on some of the more difficult times when you felt as deeply as you do right now. That's that kind of thing. Like, that was the first real traumatic death experience of my life. I'm sure I had lost people before. I know I did. I had lost a great-grandfather, but I was too small, too small to the point where my mother told me I was running around, me and my cousin, we was running around the man's casket. Like he was like 2 years old, 2.5, but great-grandpapa, running around this casket. So, yeah, I had lost him, and I'm pretty sure someone else had passed too, but nothing like that close to me, not like a buddy that like literally sit next to you, and y'all sitting there watching TV every day and you play basketball, play handball together. And the thing about it was he's black, and it's not too many black kids. I mean, we had some, but it wasn't too many, in the area. It was more so Hispanic and not too many whites either, honestly. Armenian, a lot of Armenian, but that's how Hollywood was. Armenian, Spanish, black, some. but he was from Jamaica, him and his sister, and I remember the anxiety attack that I felt when we got the news that he had passed, to the point where I had annoyed the lady telling us the news because I kept saying, who Damien, because I would not let it come in. I would not let that come in. I still remember that feeling. It was horrible. I remember that all weekend I had a stomach anxiety. It was the whole 3 days was an anxiety attack. It was like a never-ending anxiety attack. That's exactly what it was. And you could not escape the grief. It was just grief. Like deep grief. And I had never felt nothing like that, you know. But I had gone through the Connie experience, and so I think I was a little off because of that. And so, man, I was deeply grieved over my boy Damien. And it wasn't like I was like he was my closest homie, like I was going to his house or nothing like that. It wasn't like that. But for some reason it hit me like he was my brother or something. It hit me hard, man. And so it was one of them situations where I just look back on that as one of the more, important times of my young childhood, because it helped me understand what type of grief was out there. See, I had already ran into the monster, but I don't think I really knew nothing about bereavement. That was a whole nother thing right there. That was like, whoa. And I learned that was going to be something that was going to be a reoccurring thing in my life, People just pass away, just like everybody does. Unfortunately, we all have to go through that. Hopefully, you don't go through that too often in life, but if you're not losing people, you're the one lost, friend. That's the reality of it. Everybody goes. That's why we got to cherish everybody, man. And that's why I'm so ashamed of not being better for the people I cared about or for the people that I could have been cool with. And now I look back and I say, man, I probably soured some of those relationships being the way that I was, but I just didn't know who was who, man. I just didn't know who was a freaking monster. And my mother didn't know who was who, so a lot of times she would kind of turn people away too on my behalf, which was okay because we had our reasons for that. But I just wish I could have had a little more control over the situation to say, for those who needed a place to stay, could I did a little more for them. I think about my boy Jason, though. My boy Jason. Salute to Jason, his children, his wife. Hope y'all doing well. I love y'all, man. That boy told me how he showed me that he could turn his life around, and would often later on speak of God all the time. I remember he would be very much in tune with the Lord. I probably get a lot of my personality from hanging around him in certain situations. I really do. Some of my ways, hopefully the better ones. But I remember I let him stay in an apartment when my mom was a manager downstairs. It was a vacant area, and he told me he didn't have nowhere to stay. We knew he was outside for a minute, so for me it was like, I know of a place to stay, bro. I ain't no way. And that's what I remember thinking. Ain't no freaking way this man gonna sleep outside when I know damn well there's an apartment downstairs, ain't nobody in. Nobody been in there for about a month, and my mom's the manager, meaning the worst thing that could happen is I get in trouble. Man, get yourself in that house, stay there, and we gonna be good. Wasn't long, I couldn't let him stay there for long, but I told you, a few nights, my man, you're gonna be safe these nights. I'm proud of that. Eventually we had to get him out of there. Once my mom found out he was there, she had to do what she had to do. Wasn't our property, so she made sure she took care of her business. But it was just something I was really happy I was able to do. I thought that the Lord wanted me to do that. But even if it wasn't a feeling, I don't think he told me to. Honestly, it wasn't like I'm living now where I'm like, God told me. Nah, I don't think he told me to. I just did it. I wanted to. Like, he outside, man. Like, even though he can live out, he knew how to take care of himself. That's not the point. Like, every night is a bad night when you're out there. Any night could be the night that you get murdered when you're out there. So no matter how long you've been out there, any night could be the night when a bad thing go wrong. And so it's like, if I could just protect him for a couple nights while I have the ability to do so, I want to. It's not even about obligation. No, I wanted to. I speak on that because I've forgotten about it. I don't think Jason did, but I really had, man. I'm thinking about all the people I didn't let stay in my apartment, but I remember that I could at least say that, you know what, God didn't forget about the time when I defied my mom, sorry, mommy, and let my friend stay in that apartment. But I tell you, I don't remember how my mom actually reacted to that, but I don't think she was mad at me at all. I think she learned that her son was who she raised him to be, except for the lying part, and I think she got on my case about lying. But I told her, I was like, I don't think you could have let me let him stay there, or something of that nature. Like, I don't think you would have let me, and I don't think you could have let me. I think you could have gotten in real trouble for that, so I wasn't going to do that. I was going to basically relieve you of that by lying to you. I guess is how I equated it. However I looked at my thing, but the point was I was trying to do something for a friend, and I was gonna fall on the sword to do it, but I didn't want my mom to necessarily have any knowledge of it or whatever. Yeah, man. That was the one time I think I did show up. Before all the times I didn't, I'm ashamed of that. I ain't gonna talk about it, who, what, where, nobody business. But there were times when people asked me to stay, that they could stay in my house, and I just told them no. And maybe it was for the best for whatever reason. I don't know. Who knows how things are or play out, or I don't know. But the point is just when you're going through what I'm going through, you don't want to have that so much of that in your past to really be ashamed of. You don't want to look at that and say, well, I could have did better, man. I could have done so much better. And now I say, if I could make myself bigger and overcome my mental health and grow as a BDF brand, maybe I can help many people, many Jasons. I'm ashamed of the fact that I haven't seen that angle, or at least overcome myself enough to get that big so I can be that help. Especially since I know I want to do it, you know what I mean? I don't know if I should be proud of that or ashamed of that. I can't figure that out. I don't know. But, yeah, man, I wanted to give y'all a real therapy session. I didn't necessarily have any other feeling in my heart right now. Just like literally vent. I don't usually do that. Not usually. And usually when I feel like I do vent, it's negativity. It's like I don't really have a whole lot of positivity to say. It's like I'm just saying all gloom and gloom. And that's not how this is. Maybe for a little bit when I told you I didn't want to live in regards to working, but that was to display just how far away I am from feeling like I'm okay, you know. It didn't necessarily mean I want to die. It just meant that I'd rather die than do what it is that I was doing before I found myself in this space. Being miserable wearing a uniform that I just hated, not being able to turn on the camera and do my Laker thing, not being able, without somebody walking through the door. What are you doing? What I'm supposed to do on this earth? What we need you to do is go back out there and, well, that's not what's most important to me. What's most important to me is doing this video. Yeah, but if you want to get paid, you got to go back out there and stand and wait for somebody to do something so you can snitch on them. No, I'd rather not. I think I want to just sit in the house and wait for Moaz. I think I'd rather just sit in the house and do art. I think I'd rather just sit in the house and do playlists. I think I'd rather just sit in the house and sleep or work out or eat or any freaking thing other than what the heck you talking about, bro. Anything but that. And if you think I feel any different right now, you have not been paying attention. That's the problem. So I have to go out there because I really need money, and I'm really tired of that scenario, man. I'm not ashamed of that scenario. It's just exhausting. For everybody. Nobody wants to work. Just like my boy T said. He said, you think anybody wants to work? No, nobody does. Unless they do what they love, which is not work. For example, people get paid to do what it is I do. You think it feels like work to them? It may be, but not to me, because I do it for free. So it's not really work. And it ain't working either. But it is what it is. You just keep on going. That's the point. You stay consistent, and hopefully with your consistency, all of your hard work will turn into the type of money that'll keep you from having to ever do that. Or you hold your shares, and they, the SEC and all the good guys, do what they're supposed to do, so that boom, poof, you start getting your money, and you don't never have to go back to work. You don't never have to hear what the hell he was talking about. Wearing uniforms, people waiting for you to break their neck. I don't even want to touch you, friend. I want to go home and do what it is I love to do in my life. I had people looking at me like I was going to shoot them or something. I'm like, bro, I'm not even wired like that. I don't care about doing those things to anybody, man. I really don't. I don't care nothing about that. It's not that I'm too jittery to do it. I just see the fruit and not. Hurt that person. They may have a kid that can change the world tomorrow. Even your ops. I see that angle every single day. And you think I want to engage in any violence? If y'all been following me, you know I know better than that. Everybody's 1 or 2 degrees away from a baby. Nobody should be snatched from the earth but the people who are trying to snatch the people from the earth. That's it. Everybody else should be given a chance to be redeemed or figure themselves out. You know what I'm saying? And people look at me like I want to engage in the stuff that everybody else do. Oh, man. I don't. I want to create. I want to teach everybody how not to do that stuff. I know why they shouldn't. I got the cultures in my mind that change everybody's lives. We don't kill each other no more. We don't even want to. Everybody be rich because everybody be supporting one another and all different types of other ish. And I don't know. That's just a perfect world, man. People got to agree. And then they got to work through the conditioning of their minds and make them want to agree with other stuff. And then they got to work through their pain. Generational sometimes. Seems like it's a very tall task. That's why God is needed. He can handle it. But us and our brains and how we are, especially people like me who can't even overcome ourselves, it's hard, man. I was angry for a long time before I realized I engaged in that same nonsense. I was sitting up mad at everything, everybody, except for myself until I realized I was exactly the energy I didn't like. I better displayed that energy than any of those other people. That's the sad part about it. It's like, how are you angry at the person or the notion that this could be the case? Because you don't actually know what's going on with anybody. You know what's going on with you, and you definitely know you didn't like that trait. So if you think you see it in them, is it the trait you're mad at? And if so, it's in you. It's like, I'm not really mad at them. I'm mad at me for doing that to other people. That's okay. All right. So the Lord is getting me back for doing that to them. Okay. I received that. That's good. He teach me not to do it again. See what I'm saying? That's how I receive life. I have to receive it that way. Otherwise, I'm just getting punished and getting mad at everybody else for things that they don't do for me. I ain't even do for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, who am I mad at? Nobody now. I'm a soul, bro. That's why I smoke weed. I don't get mad at nothing. You just turn on the camera and continue to do what you're good at, what you love, what you know will ultimately work if you just keep at it. YouTube. I want all YouTubers to hear that message, man. Keep at it, bro. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you just play the flute for 20 minutes. Keep doing this. You'll find your audience. You'll find them. But that's what it is, man. I know where to get me where I want to go. It's my faith, self-accountability. It's like I told myself earlier, something along the lines of, if you hold yourself accountable, you'll be better. Hold yourself accountable for being better, you'll be better. That's how it went. And that's the truth. Be better. You work on what it is you got to work on. You don't stand in your own way. You don't stand in the way of God trying to give you blessings. You don't think everybody's a monster. You don't try to vet through the monsters and think you got to stay home to protect yourself from the monsters. You tell God to armor you with everything you need to be the best version of yourself. You remind yourself that every good thing comes from him and everything goes back to him. So if you be good, you know where you're going, and just keep on going. And if he's ready to take you, then you be out of here. If it's time for one of those monsters to extinguish your life, then you will have what you need to have a better life, because you will have been good and not ashamed. So that was the key to me going outside. All right, God, I can do that. I don't have to be afraid of monsters killing me. I just have to listen to you. Okay? Let me take a walk. These people want to kick me out of my apartment. That's not cool. But since I gotta be outside and I've come to this conclusion, let's just go outside and walk. And that's what the Lord's been doing. That's what it's been for the last 7 days. This is where we are. This is exactly where we are. That took you through the whole process. That's exactly what this was. And I'm telling you, man, it's more angles than that. It's many more angles than that, but I gave you what I had. Never exclude the Lakers. Never exclude the Lakers. Because at the end of the day, if the Lakers on, likely want to watch. Unless it's one of them years that soccer is playing or some weird stuff like that. I'm not watching that crap. But other than that, the Lakers are embedded in my soul as much as any other anxiety, anything else. I am a Laker to my absolute bones. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous how aligned I am with that team's success. It's like I was born to root for them. It's weird, man. But it's also given me some things to love and an identity and all kinds of other stuff. But then I just, I was able to gain so much from watching that team as well, on top of being a fan, from Kobe, as you guys know. Man, did I learn a lot from that dude. And so many other great people before him, too, like Michael Jackson and Pac and all these other people that displayed themselves in such magnificent ways for me to take on and see. And Kobe just gave me an understanding of how to start the work and do the work and love the process and get the grind going and to deal with the pain. That's what's going to help me survive, is that my mentality, man. That Mamba mentality. Pointed at the Lord to empower me with the energy. But that's what's going to get me out of this. He gave me a lot of courage, man. Him and his teammates and all those guys. And over the years, just watching different teams and stuff like that, he gave me a lot of courage, man. And keep going. That's why I try to give so much to the team, so much of myself to it. You know what I mean? And the league itself, I'm just a fan. That's almost like a separate thing, believe it or not. But as far as like the Lakers themselves, like it's a real thing, man. You might as well just bury me in a Laker jumpsuit or something. It wouldn't be a problem, man. I don't know that I want a Laker casket. That's kind of tacky, but like on the inside, yeah, for sure, it should have something purple and gold. At least it should be. Represent for me, please. But that's how I feel, man. It's purple and gold for real. And they, over the years, I just felt like, I had to watch the games when they were winning. I had to be watching it with my mom, and when we watched together, every time somebody make a free throw, we slap hands 3 times. Pop, pop, pop. That's how we did it. We were in sync like a team, literally, and we would watch every game. We could anyway. Some games over the years, it wasn't the same. But during the Shaq and Kobe days, Shaq and Powell days, yeah, we were locked in. Ron Artest and them days, we were locked in. Me and Mom, to the point where we would go to like hang out at the arena after the championship games. I think we did that 2 out of 3 years. And I think the first year, most of the playoff games leading up, we would go to the game to watch the games on the Jumbotron. Like at the arena, sit there in one of the suites, and then proceed to watch all the games that they had on the road. I don't think it cost much, too. It was like $25 or something. I don't really remember, but it was really, really a fun experience. That was like early on, like 99, 2000, when they allowed that. They should bring that back, by the way. But like those are some of the best memories because they helped me through those anxieties. They kind of ushered me out of the sadness. You know what I mean? Like the deep sadness. It would like be at the end of the night, no matter how bad it was, you got a Laker game to watch. And the team was good, so you can probably win. So it was like, all right, it started making for better nights. And as the years progressed, they win championships. It was more joy instilled in my heart because they were winning. It healed a lot of things in my life when them teams started winning. I don't think people understand how much them sports mean to these fans, bro. Especially when we live in tough lives, stuff like that, and we're this much diehard fans. That's why it's so important the Nuggets just won their championship. That's why it's so important different teams win, because it really is important for our lives, you guys. I promise you it is. Especially those of us who live tough lives, bro. We need our teams to win. Sometimes we just need something to root for so we can just have that cry. It ain't even just about the team, it's about our lives. We finally got to a peak of something. A peak from which to celebrate everything else. a joy that usually only comes when children are born and when you have the money to raise them. That type of energy. That's why I want to win a championship every year. I can't hoard them all, but at the end of the day, I've been fortunate that my team's won a lot. So every one of them years, some of them years when things were not good in the house, mom and I weren't seeing eye to eye, team was winning. Pop, pop, pop. Yeah, we had a lot of that, man. It was fun, and that's what I appreciate. That I don't think we took it for granted at the time. I think we really genuinely cherished those moments, so it's nothing left behind, It's good looking back on times when things were good, man. Because it makes you understand that you can create those times again. With your hard work, with your intentions, with your consistency, with letting God in, with letting people in, trusting, allowing yourself to go back outside again, for myself, personally. Not doing people wrong, you know what I mean? That kind of thing allows you to have those moments with people and they be genuine, the energy be good, It's important. Have those moments. I had lost that over the last 8 years. I lost that. But I'm going to get it back again, man. I think moving over here, that's when I was in a bad space after mom had passed. So it was like, I just was, my mind wasn't right. Probably the whole time I was here, I would say. Just the whole time. Trying to recover from that, trying to heal from that, trying to discover who I am there, how to get the art going, all that, trying to work through the childhood. Consistency of staying home for long periods of time, all of that. It had just reached a point where I had seen the consequences of it, but didn't quite work into the equation a solution to how my behavior had tumbled forward. And when my mom passed away, it just made it so that I never checked that behavior. It was that kind of thing. It's like, even if I saw it as a problem, I gave myself the excuse because of her sickness. It was like, I'm going through this. This is why I'm staying home. Not because I've always gone through this. You see what I'm saying? It was like during that time where I can only bring myself to just jog in the daytime, eat the same breakfast every day, and then sleep as much as I could afterwards, smoke, go out with my buddies, and just do that repeat. While she literally paid the rent. With the 401k that she ended up leaving me, I already started depleting that way before that because she was paying the rent. I didn't realize that until right now, but that's exactly how that went. She was taking the 401k money and paying my rent while I was going through that process because I did not want to work. I could not work because I was sad about her being sick. She was paying it while she was sick. That's something to be ashamed of. But what I didn't understand is I needed help. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't that I was choosing to do that by character. It was that I was scared and I was used to that. See, that's what I was going through in my 20s. And I ended up getting evicted then from the other place, doing the same thing. I couldn't bring myself to go to work. I refused. And my mommy was ill and I can't do nothing. I'm just like, I can't do nothing. I quit that Park Place job, the one I was telling you about in 14, where I just left the place. Y'all go back and watch some therapy session random ago, maybe 10 ago. I spoke on that. But I had left that job and I just couldn't bring myself to go back to work because my mother had just got diagnosed with cancer right before I left that job. And that's when I started going through the troubles there where my performance started to wane and they wanted to change me to a maintenance man because of it. And I just couldn't focus because I was smoking different weeds every damn day. So my mind wasn't right. Mom sick, childishness, mental illness, all of it at Park Place. Shout out to everybody over there. I have a lot of love for them people over there, man. My guards over there, man, those are all dope friends that I wish I would have stayed in touch with. Every last one of them people was awesome, bro. I kid you not, I was lucky to work there with them. But it's one of them situations where it's like, man, I learned that I could work a certain way. Graveyard shift. And that didn't provide me no anxiety because I didn't have to really deal with nobody. Just a couple people. You know what I mean? And they were cool people. People I got along with very well. So it was like I'd go hang out with them in the daytime, jog a little bit, work my routine, sleep. And when I left that job, I kept that routine up, jog routine. So that's where that came from. I just stayed in the rhythm of that because it's what we required to keep my body going when I do graveyard. You know what I mean? Because if I didn't take care of myself during graveyard shift, I would have never been able to do that. It just deteriorates the body. Did it for a whole year and a half. You know what I'm saying? That experience was so strong for me, man, because I learned a lot from my boy Fred. Fred White, salute. I hope he's somewhere very happy right now. That's my boy. Somebody else I wish I would have stayed in touch with. Very solid brother. You know what I'm saying? Also talked about the Lord. He's another reason why I feel confident speaking into the camera about the Lord. Because Fred, he didn't play about God. But he was a very new Christian at the time. So some of the conversations, I was like, brother, where's the compassion here? But he learned it. He came around, and I'm sure he's there now. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of those situations where, I just got along with him well because he told me some things that he had went through that ultimately I ended up going through later. It was just tough, man. So it's like, he had helped me kind of prepare myself for what I need to do, to pray certain prayers and just welcome the Lord in and all these different things, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's why I look back on my life and I say being poor was nothing to be ashamed of. Because when I look back on my life, I had some really good friends, some really poignant memories, some tough times, made me better. Real genuine friendships that had nothing to do with what we had or what we didn't have. Genuine friendships, so I know it when I see it, People were definitely not monsters. People I keep in touch with today, luckily enough, some I do. That's how I know angels exist. I know they do. Certain they're not. Everybody's not a monster. That's the beauty of my life. Because I've had good people in my life. I at least know that good people exist. And I want you to know that too. But unfortunately, I know of people who didn't know of good people. It just is what it is. But I hope that I showed them one. I hope I showed them one. I don't know, man. When you get to a point in your life where you just look back on your life and you have so much to look back on, you almost feel fortunate. Especially when you know of people who lost their lives in their 20s and their teens, even younger like Damien. I'm so happy I got so much to look back on. I had so many safe nights at home, in my bed, comfortable, whether mommy was there, watching TV with me, playing, doing the pop, pop, pop with the Lakers, all that stuff. Nights where I may have taken it for granted that I had a peaceful home or a place to stay. I may have taken it for granted. For sure I did. But she always would show me that prayer and not taking things for granted were serious. Going to church, being consistent with family members, reaching out to people. All of those things she practiced. And left the example of how to do those things. And if it weren't for those fears in my head and those conditionings of my mind, I knew exactly what it looked like to be a good friend. I know how to show up for people. I watched my mother drive all the way from Oakland to LA only to find out that her mother had fallen ill and immediately dropped me off at home and drove back. And I begged my mom not to do that. I was like, Mommy, you're going to be sick. You ain't even slept. We just came from that drive. She was like, but Mommy, I got to go back. It's Mommy. I have to do this, Brandon. I have to do this. And she did. And she made it there, and it wasn't no problem. The strength of my mama, showing up for her mama. That's why I want people to know I know how to do it. If I can get out of my own way, I know exactly how to be a good person. My mother showed me how consistently for the rest of her life. From the moment I was born to the rest of her life, she showed me how to be a hard worker. She showed me how to be a good friend. She showed me how to be a good family member. She showed me how to be a good parent. You understand what I'm saying? Condition of love and showing up for your son, even when he's sick, when you don't feel good, you still go pick him up when he go to his girlfriend's house and just watch South Central, wherever the hell I was going. Trekking out there on the train, and she come pick me up 2 in the morning. She was not happy. She was not happy with me. But she did like that I had a girlfriend, though. And that's the one thing. She never was mad at me because I always brought home a girl that she liked. She liked all my girlfriends. So that was a good thing. But, it's just one of them situations where it's like, she gone now, man. But see, at least I was able to work that out where I was able to spend time with her before she passed, before she got too ill to really hang out with me, and we were able to watch shows together. The have and the have-nots. I was able to watch the first whole season, I think half of the second season with her. A lot of stuff we did together before she passed. So it was like we found some completion. Went to the movies a couple of more times, since that was something we did a lot when I was little. Growing up in Hollywood, go to Chinese Man once a week. Chinese Man Theater, Pacific Theater was another Pacific Theater. I think further down the street they ended up closing that. El Capitan every once in a while, though they mostly did Disney movies. We go to all the movie theaters, y'all. Universal City Walk all the time. That's my mom's thing. She was a movie fan, so every movie came out, we were there, pretty much. Sometimes she wanted to see 2 and 3 movies, but that would be a little too much for me as I got older. But she was so very vibrant, happy, and so I look and I ask the Lord to make it so that I didn't make life so hard on her with my ways and my moodiness, my personality that wasn't really like hers like that, I fed off of her energy though, which was a good thing. When she was happy, I tend to be happy, but sometimes I just had my own ways. Of course, I was her son, so we had our thing. I'd seen her too many times be angry, so I just kind of had my own bitterness toward my mom at times. Growing up an adolescent and just not acting right. There were a lot of that crap. I had to, get used to the fact that I wasn't getting what I wanted, certain things. It was just like a spoiled nature that was in me, an entitled nature as it pertained to my mother that I'm probably paying for right now, to be honest with you. Probably paying for that energy now. Yeah. I was a snot at times. And it wasn't because of my mental health. It was because I knew I could get away with it. And I hope the Lord got enough out of me in regards to smacking me around. I've learned my lesson. I have. I don't like that energy in me no more than she did. Not at all. So yeah, I don't know how much time I have left on this thing. I can use an hour and 12 minutes y'all time, man. I promise you I don't expect people to listen to all of these, not at once. But I know if you were to listen to all these, if you really wanted to know a person, you definitely can learn who I am. I didn't hold back a whole lot. I really didn't. I left my whole soul in these damn things. I really did. It's been rewarding for me to do this. Whether anybody watches it or not, man, it's been absolutely rewarding and healing. Allows me to go into deep spaces in my heart that I haven't been in years. Pretty sure that's why the Lord wanted me to smoke that little bit of weed tonight, so I could just jump into this and make this content. I hope it's compelling. I hope that I was able to shout out enough of my friends to let them know that I love them, even though I'm not in their lives right now, even though we didn't spend a lot of time together, even though maybe we were only co-workers and it wasn't even that close. I still had a lot of appreciation for y'all, all of y'all, man. I'm telling you, a lot of people showed me a lot of things while working at security, Park Place, I'm thinking about various different places I worked, Temple. People showed a lot of love, man, doing security. I didn't always display my best doing security either. A lot of times, I can honestly say that was never really my job. Well, of course it was my job, but it was never really my talent. I didn't have a gift for doing that, man. That's the problem. I got talent in all these other things that I actually suck at. I'm not a good security guard, man. Just fell into it. Don't want to fall back into it again. I prayed many prayers to get me out of that. Many. And I still want the Lord to find me a way to not have to do it anymore, but I think it's probably the easiest way for me to make some money. I hate it. Love the people I work with, but I hate doing the job. So I'm welcoming another opportunity. It's not the only job I can get. It's probably just the easiest job I can get. I just don't ever want to do it again. So bad. So bad. But there are a lot of things we don't want. And what I definitely don't want is to not overcome that. Can we talk about the conditioning of the mind? Yeah, that's one. It's a hard one, but it's one. And what if somebody has that same urgency about doing something absolutely horrible and we need them to stop? What if? Should I not take that into account when I don't want to do something that I desperately don't want to do? Should I not? Am I basically adhering to the fact that they're just going to do that thing if I don't overcome this and get my butt back to work in a security uniform, for which I don't want to do ever again? And that thing they shouldn't do, that they have urges with the same intensity. Is there no hope for them? I don't know if it's my responsibility to show them hope or not, but I hope they can overcome what it is that I need to overcome in regards to that level of urgency to keep from doing what it is they need to keep from doing to get me to do what it is I need to do that I desperately don't want to do. Can we meet each other in those places so that they can stop doing what it is they need to stop doing and I can do what it is that I desperately need to do for which I don't want to? See, that's what you guys have done for me. That's what having a voice has done for me. I think about that. I think it's my responsibility to think about that. And I run into a crossroads because I've never ever had to do something that I don't want to do that bad. I've never had to challenge myself to face that point of view. I give myself an excuse of mental health. I give myself the excuse of mommy being sick. I give myself the excuse of people making fun of me. I give myself the excuse of wanting to see the Lakers, any damn thing to keep me from doing that damn thing that I don't want to do. But now that I got you, I don't want that person to follow through. I don't want them to. So how do I display to them that they can do it? How? Putting on that uniform? You see how serious I am about not doing that? This is why I asked the Lord for some way. Because I can't take on that burden in this mindset. No different than they can't take on that burden in that mindset. It's not about me being a better example for them. I'll stress myself out trying to hold on to that burden. And they may do what they're going to do regardless because of it too. They need help, and so do I. And that's what I've come to understand. It's not that I cannot, or can rather, do what it is that I need to do that I'm so desperately not wanting to do. It's not that they need to stop themselves from doing what it is that they desperately need not do. It's that we're going to need the support from others to help us along the way so that we don't take on these burdens by ourselves and ultimately fade away or end up doing what it is that we desperately don't want to do, or in my case, not doing what it is I need to do. The help is needed. Regardless if we're willing to bear the burden of whether or not we should or should not, or whether or not we finally find the strength to just ultimately do it. The point is, if we can't do it to the best of our ability, or if he's just going to find himself slipping into it anyway in a burst of just craziness, or if I'm going to end up just driving home 150 miles an hour from the job, even though I desperately need to do it and therefore force myself to do it, but couldn't actually do the job properly, there's something wrong there. That's the point. But what if there's no help? What if we're somewhere where there is no mental health help? They still got to stop themselves from doing that. And that's the part I'll never be able to shake. At what point do we stop ourselves from becoming those monsters? Become strong enough to actually stop that energy, even if the help ain't there? What I need may not come and you may not care. I may need to get my butt into that uniform, whether I like it or not. And you know what else I can do? Quit life entirely. That's the truth. So I don't have to take on that burden at all. So I ain't got to feel on none of those feelings, do none of that. But then I become a bad example there too. And I have to take on whatever the afterlife provides, for which I believe in God. You probably wouldn't be too happy with me for doing that. So then I get burdened into staying here. Guilt trip, so to speak. It's truth. Religion will guilt trip you into staying in a life that you hate. And that's probably a good thing, because you can't see what's coming tomorrow. And that's the point. We got to get through the day somehow, man. We got to. Even if we don't want to be here. Even if it's time to go. It ain't because, well, you don't really know what time it is. You can't see what's coming around the corner. You don't know what the clock is going to strike. You don't know when something great opportunity is going to knock on your door. All you know is what it is you don't want to do anymore, in my case. And you see that escape as a means of keeping you from having to do it. But you can't see what's coming next, man. You can't see that if you put on that uniform, maybe you'll meet that person you need to meet that'll put you in a position to be the best voice you've ever been. You don't know that if you put on that uniform, maybe you'll turn yourself into somebody who actually is pretty good at security. Maybe this will be the first security job you love. It might be the first one you love. And you didn't psych yourself out of your entire life just to keep from putting you on a uniform, actually going to that job. See, all of this wisdom is in my head, all of it. The whole thing. The whole encompassing thing. And that's the part that I want people to understand. When people wonder why I don't plan, it's because my head does this. This. I don't know how many people do this. Just me, man. The BDF. That's all I can say. I hope that person find themselves to be stronger than me. That's the bottom line. Just because I ain't strong enough don't mean they're not. Don't measure me against them. Don't measure them against me. For all I know, they can stop that battle every 5 minutes, and I may not be able to put on a uniform again. Don't underestimate anybody, least of all yourself. You are stronger than me. Definitely are. That's the moral of the story. I probably need to see how strong you are to motivate me. Just because I'm the one in the camera doesn't mean I can't be led. I might need to be. That might be the point. Maybe I need to see that monster, although I probably wouldn't see it because they'd hide it. But the point is, the strength that they would otherwise display for getting the help they need, or if the help ain't there, just caging themselves, so to speak, or whatever they have to do to keep themselves from doing what it is they got to do. If they could just be that good at helping others be safe from the energy within them, they'd be a better man than me. Because I have a hard time putting back on that uniform even when I need to. Hard time doesn't mean I can't do it, but it means I haven't done it. Hopefully they haven't done it either. Whatever it is, they ain't having no business doing. I hope you all are following me. I'm actually following me. I think I know what I'm talking about. I think the Lord is every bit through me in this conversation as he's been in all the other conversations we've had. I think this is about as spiritual as a moment as I've ever had. Is that sometimes we don't need to preach. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just need to reflect on life, and that'll be enough. Help people understand what it is that the Lord has done for you. What it is he's doing for you now. What it is he may be willing to do for them later. And that's really what this has been about. That's what this whole week has been about. He's been so good to me. He helped me redirect my energy from being angry at someone else for not doing for me to me being angry at myself for not doing for others. That's how good God's been to me in my life. He made it so that my team won 6 championships. Lakers for life. You know what I'm saying? That's why I appreciate God, man. Because he's giving me things to be passionate about. And I pray for whatever it is you're passionate about. I think about people in gangs. They're passionate about their colors. They're passionate about their flags. They're passionate about their lost ones. They're passionate about their get back. They're passionate about making their money. And whatever else they stand for in their particular circumstances. I hope that I'm able to extend some good energy with my prayers toward people, man. Whether you're a civilian or you're someone, a street dude, or whether you're somebody doing something else, I don't know. I just hope that within my prayers and within my steps, I leave behind something good as I walk. That's what I hope as I walk around Linux, that I'm leaving something as I speak of the word, the Lord, as I do. I hope that I'm just making it so that He can bless my steps, so that the energy on the pavement will forever be blessed with what it is that I'm trying to be. I genuinely want that. That maybe the streets would just be a little safer for me being on them. Is that so crazy? That I walk around Linux just thinking that hopefully somehow this prayerful energy that I've been engaging in would make this place a lot more easier for people to live. That's crazy, right? But I really want that now, especially since these are the last days I'll probably be over here, depending on whatever pops up. I don't know. But I just feel like this is the end of this area for me. And I just want so much for whatever is going on outside to be okay, you know? I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, just be still for a little bit and grow. Let things grow. That's what I want for Linux in the Inglewood area. Let things grow around here, man. There's a lot of beautiful people who come out of this area, a lot of beautiful children that are going to grow up to be wonderful parents, wonderful professionals, wonderful people. That's what I want for every hood, everywhere, man. That you can afford to live where you grew up and it be a safer place for you while you engage in what it is you really want to do. So long as you're not being coerced into ending your lives early, man. That's what I want. It's one thing to be poor and struggling. It's another thing to just be dying early in life just because you want to engage in stuff that don't help you build nothing. When there's so much you can do, you can be a contributor to so much if you just put your heads together and figure out how to care about something together. And that's why I appreciate so many people doing that in the way that they can, but we got to get those cultures that make us want to kill each other out of the way. And if we can figure out how to get those cultures out of our heads and overcome the conditionings of our minds that force us into those spaces, the building will commence from there. The love will bring us to a place where we're doing everything we need to do from there. We're going to need help from art. We're going to need help from the music. We're going to need help from those who are in position to help us with it. But that's where we need to go if we really want to grow as a country and become as respectful as a country as we think we are when we wave our flag and sing our songs. We got to start caring about the people in places that don't have nothing and stop shaming people for not having money. Especially when we know what's going on with the money. We know. So I think that's the end of my conversation. I think I got it all out. I think the Lord was happy with what I said, and I hope He is. I'm definitely happy with my high. I'm glad I was able to share it with you. And I hope that through this circumstance and what it is I've displayed here, you understand that there's value in my life. That not because I don't have money, that I don't have something to share, that I should be ashamed. I have plenty of things the Lord gave me and an intense intention on being better. I don't have a whole lot of money, but I'm proud of that. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.